vine, you are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. I am the vine, you are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine. I am the vine, you are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. I am the vine, you are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. He who abides in me and I in him will bear much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. Abide in the vine. He who abides in me and I in him will bear much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. Abide in the vine. I am the vine, you are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. I am the vine, you are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. You are the branches, I am the vine. Hey!
Okay, so today we're going to learn about how sin breaks us apart, and for an example of this, we're going to draw something we love on these puzzle pieces. So all you need are these pieces and some markers. So you can draw anything you want. You can draw a sport like a basketball, you can draw a place you like the beach, you can draw a flower, a person, or anything you want. So I'm going to draw a flower.
You finished?
Yeah. Alright.
I'm not done yet. No. Wait.
What are you doing?
I'm drawing a basketball. Okay, awesome.
Alright, now that you've drawn something that you like, we're going to break up the puzzles, and this is supposed to represent how sin breaks us apart. So you can just break off the pieces, like Chris was doing right here.
So you already did.
Oh my God. Alright. And we're done. So now you can put them back together if you want to.
Yay.
Yay.
Hey guys, welcome back to day 2 of our virtual VBS and our little episodes of the Word from the Word. If you guys remember in our last video, we talked about the fact that you and I were made with a purpose. And we said a purpose is just a fancy word to say, what is the reason that we made something? And I shared with you guys the story of how my brother and I would build our Legos for the purpose of playing with them afterwards, right? The reason we built them was to play with them afterwards. And we said that our purpose was that we were made for life with God. And so the big idea that we talked about was that God made us for life with Him. But, and this is a big unhappy but, unfortunately, what we are going to talk about today is that something wants to keep us from that purpose. That there's something that prevents us from actually living out that purpose as God had designed. And in order for us to better understand who we are and who God is, we have to understand that there's something that keeps us from living with God. We're going to talk about that today on Word from the Word. Have you guys ever been somewhere to pick fruit before? Maybe strawberries or blueberries or cherries? Well, my brother and I used to pick apples. We would go to this farm that was out in the mountains a little bit from our house. So our parents would have to drive us. And we would just go and wander around the orchard and pick apples. And it was usually one of the best days of the fall for us. My brother and I used to try to figure out also who could pick the best apple. And how we tried to figure out which apple was the best was we developed a strategy to figure out what's the fastest way for me to look at a tree and see if it's going to have a good apple. Now, if you guys were apple picking, how do you think you would try to figure out whether a tree was going to have good apples on it or not? There's a couple different things you could look for. You could look at the size of the tree and thinking maybe a taller tree or a tree with a wider trunk might have more apples than a little tiny tree or a little tiny trunk. That could be the case. Maybe you'd look at the color of the leaves because if a tree has green leaves, it's probably healthier and stronger than a tree that has brown leaves or even worse, maybe no leaves at all. Yeah, then it might be dead at that point. And you don't know if it doesn't have leaves on it. What my brother and I actually would look for is the trees that had the most apples on them usually had the better apples on them. Now, we weren't an orchard, and so sometimes people would just pick from the same tree, and so maybe that tree's good, it just has no apples on it anymore. But we would look for the trees that had the most apples on them because that told us, oh, this tree's really good at making apples. Therefore, the apples on it should probably be pretty good. And then, we could look and we could go through all of them and scout out, and usually with the tree that had a ton of apples on it, we could find the best apple. And I realized that that's kind of true whether you're picking apples or cucumbers or zucchini or squash or berries, or if you want to know how good the plant is, you look at the fruit that's coming off of it or the vegetables that's coming off of it. And God actually talks about our relationship with Him in the same way. In John chapter 15, the Apostle John records Jesus saying this in verses 4 through 6. John chapter 15, verses 4 through 6 say this: "Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned." So what we see from these verses is that Jesus is telling us that we are like the branches of the almond tree, of the apple tree, and that He is the vine, like the trunk of the tree. And the purpose of the branch is to, make apples, bear fruit. And the way that the branch makes the fruit is because of its connection to the vine. I mean, if you guys have ever been around an apple orchard, or you've seen fruit growing on a tree, or leaves growing on a tree, or flowers growing on a tree, and then that branch that they're growing off of breaks off of the tree, does stuff keep growing on it? No. In fact, once the branch is broken off of the tree, we would say that that branch is dead. Nothing can grow on that. And Jesus tells us that, guys, you and I are a lot like those broken branches. Something has broken our branch off of the vine, and so we're kind of just laying there dead on the ground. Jesus says in our memory verse today, which is John chapter 15, verse 5, that I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. But apart from me, you can do nothing. So when our branch is connected to Jesus' vine, we're living as we need to be. We're making fruit. We're living out our purpose. But when our branch is disconnected, we can't live out our purpose anymore. And that thing that has disconnected our branch from Jesus' vine is what we would call sin. And sin is what happens when you and I disobey God. Basically, think of it this way, okay? Remember we said that God made us to live with Him? Well, sin happens when you and I say, God, I get that you made me to do this, but I want to go do this instead. And so it's kind of like we're taking our branch and we're taking it off of the vine and we're going to look for, something else to attach our branch to. And so we're willfully choosing to go against what God has said. And guys, this is a pretty serious thing for us because, like we just said, what happens when the branch is on the ground? Well, it's dead. In fact, we can't do anything anymore. We can't bear fruit like we were made to do. You and I can't live as God designed us to because of sin. Sin has broken us apart from God. And that's our big idea for this video today, that sin breaks us apart from God. And in order for us to really understand how am I supposed to live with God, we have to realize that there is sin in our hearts. It's something that you and I are born with, because if you go all the way back to Genesis chapter 3, you see Adam and Eve sin, and that sin has been passed on to everybody else. So our parents have it, our grandparents have it, our best friends have it, our teachers have it. Everyone we know has sin, and so everyone we know is broken apart from God. So how are we made right with God? That's kind of the big question that we're left with, and it really is a big question. In fact, we're going to take each of the next 2 videos to cover what does it look like for us to be made right with God. So thank you for sticking with me today. I'm sorry we had to talk about the big bummer that we are currently broken off from God, but it's very important for us to understand it because it helps us even more get what comes next. So stick around so we can actually talk about what comes next in our next video.
Today we learned that the Lord is the vine and we are the branches, and as branches we cannot do anything apart from the Lord who is the vine. Our memory verse today is John 15:5. It says, "Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing."